welcome back to Robinhood Stock Market Watch List. My name's Carlos, and today is now Tuesday, the 5th of September, and this is our weekly meeting that we're going to have. That way we can kind of go over what's scheduled to happen for the week, but also we'll kind of take a look at we'll take another recap of what Friday looked like with the stock market. Always looking at the stock options is one of my one of the most important things to do when I do my due diligence. And Tesla, looking at the top of the list, working our way down, has dominated the list at 3.4 million in options volume, was down 5% to about $245. However, with its put and call ratio, we're nearly at a 40% put ratio versus a 60% call ratio. And so going into the next trading day, which is now, people are very, very bullish. However, as I mentioned before, is that going into a 3-day weekend is it's really a 50-50, because a lot of stuff can happen within 3 days that the news can easily push out there, and that could scare investors in Wall Street and whatnot. And so, but as long as nothing happens, it could easily bounce back, and 60% are bullish. And then second is Nvidia. Nvidia was down last Friday 1.7% with quite a bit of volume. I mean, this thing is really has been working its way into the top 3 now. And so Nvidia closed out at 55% call ratio with a 45% put ratio almost. Apple, third place, which is very normal to have Tesla and Apple within the top 3, was up at almost 1%. And a lot of people, it's interesting because with the top ones there, Apple is always kind of slipping through the cracks. Well, as we've mentioned in our previous stock market meetings, Apple has an event coming up really soon, you guys, and so where they're about to release the Apple iPhone. So we go Apple reveal in Google, not revenue, but reveal event for 2023, and then boom, there it is for September 12th. So again, that's coming up really, really soon. We'll just kind of look at our stock market calendar. So September 12th, which is right here, is on a Tuesday. And so just days before triple witching day, which is on the 15th. And so typically what we normally see is before any kind of reveals like this, we ride the wave up, and then usually during the reveal, then the stock plunges down. So the only way that it's not going to do that is if they surprise us with something that where I'm anticipating them to reveal their EV Apple car or something, to where I don't know if you've ever watched Apple reveal their Apple iPhone X, but during that reveal they were talking about the iPhone 8. iPhone 8, small, medium, large, different colors. And then they acted like the event was about to end, and that was almost over. And all of a sudden they said, "But wait, hold on, we have a surprise for you." And all of a sudden, this whole new redesigned iPhone came out, and but it was a very surprise. Nobody was really expecting that because they didn't really reveal any leaks or of any kind. However, with Apple, this is a game changer for them because they're doing something new. The Apple iPhone has always been kind of their bread and butter. And so when you look at Apple's stock price, let me take a look here. Let's go to the Webull here really quick. But so when we look at their chart, if I can pull it up here, Okay, I already got it up here. So if we look at the, let's say, 5 year, we can see that Apple is well beyond what it was during the pandemic, and so they're hitting records, and so it's also a sign that they're kind of pricing themselves in, kind of knowing that this is going to happen, but still, it's going to surprise a lot of people, and we could see the stock become very, very bullish. And so, because when if and hopefully when they reveal the iPhone, not the iPhone, but their new EV vehicle, hopefully they'll say at the end of the reveal, now you guys can go to apple.com and reserve this vehicle for whatever, how much they want to do, $100, $500, $1,000, whatever it is. People, there's gonna be thousands and thousands of people that are gonna put a deposit down, and we're still probably not even going to see this thing till probably 2 or 3 years from now, from being delivered. But at least with the reveal, we'll get a really good look at it, and we're kind of overdue with this, and this should be the year, and so and that's why and we've seen some pretty high percentages with the call ratios with Apple. So it's going to be very interesting, until the event happens. But like I said, it's happening. It's going to happen really, really soon. So we got to make sure Apple stays on our watch list. AMD, which was fourth place last Friday, closed up at 3.5% at about right around 109. Call put ratio right around 50-50. Amazon, which was about fifth place, it's been kind of really fluctuating lately, but it's up about $138, but it didn't really move much, but 11 cents. But it has about 69% call ratio, so doing really good. Disney's been kind of on the bottom of the list lately, but it looks like it was up quite a bit. But if you look at Disney lately, Disney's on the bottom. It is struggling, but Disney has a good foundation, and they've just been fumbling, and they'll eventually come through. And for the long-term investors and short-term traders, Disney is a good is a good investment. And I mean, it's very low. It was down to almost 2.5%, and it's right around 81%, $81. Just a matter of finding its bottom, and when we start seeing a significant amount of buying activity, or betting that Disney is going to reach a higher number, we always got to follow the money, and so it's just a matter of finding when that time is between the chart as well as the buying activity. We always follow the number, follow the money. And right now we're right around that 50-50 area. It's coming down. People just aren't sure. Maybe they're straddling. Intel, which we talked about Intel during our last meeting, it did phenomenal last Friday, up over 4%, almost 4.25%, up at $36.61. We saw that this was going to happen. We saw that there was some unusual buying activity with Intel. We talked about how it really Intel's time to shine. We saw this with Nvidia, several years ago, and then several years ago I also mentioned the AMD. We talked a lot about that it's time to shine, but that was right before Xbox and PlayStation revealed their new platforms. Very, very easy to kind of predict, but Intel has been kind of struggling around that lower dollar area compared to a lot of the other semiconductors. So we saw some pretty interesting calls. So we'll take a look at what the activities we can find with Intel now. And so but it did a great job, and it's up 75% call ratio and hovering right around 25% with a put ratio. And so Intel looks good. Definitely we got to keep that one on our watch list because it has a lot of volatility right there. Facebook, not a lot of volatility with that one, but it has a 40-60% put and call ratio. Neo, we talked about Neo a little bit as well. The other day, it was up 7% last Friday, and it closed at $11. And so 71% call ratio and 30 or just under 30% put ratio. Let's see if there's any other big significant one. Well, was kind of bouncing around the bottom, right around 35, $36 a share, but it closed up 1%, and but it has almost an 80% call ratio. So it's very interesting what we've been seeing. I think previously in the past we've seen some activity with Johnson and Johnson, now Pfizer. These guys are not normally on the list. And so the only time when they're on the list is when somebody's talking about them, or when there's some inside trading. Something is going on. But there's a lot of rumors about another possible lockdown, or I even have some family member, or friends, or people that know people that are saying that there's some activity. And so when the flu season is really right around the corner. It's interesting because it's still really early. Why are we kind of seeing people catching the flu now? And the flu season is what, between October and March or something, or October and May. And so, but there's just a lot of rumors that there's some activity going on. There's a lot of prepping going on, even with people that are employed with the government, or police officers. They're all saying that, hey, they're rumors again. They're saying that they're being prepped, and so just be prepared, kind of thing. And so and when we start seeing where vaccine companies are having a lot of buying activity, and they're betting that the stock's going to go up, it's just putting more of the pieces of the puzzle of what's going to happen before it happens. So it's just something to consider. We just got to, but it's still, pretty, on the bottom of the list, but still almost an 80% call ratio is very unusual, as well as to have this on the list. It makes two unusual, interesting points there. And so, but let's take a look at the most active individual calls and puts, and that way we kind of tell kind of what's going on going into this week. And so when we're looking at the list, throughout the weekend, we need to avoid anything with a DTE with a zero. And DTE means basically the number of days until the option expires. So we want to make sure that we're looking at anything that is currently active and not expired. So going to the ones with the most highest volume and open interest that are currently active is this Tesla call strike price at $260 that expires this Friday. And Tesla is at $245. So obviously there's a lot of investors that are very bullish on Tesla to be that, to go up $15. That's pretty huge. And so, but one of the reasons why it probably is that much is because Tesla has, for a couple different things. And so we're going in a new month, throughout the weekend and whatnot. And so they normally give us a little bit of some information of their sales and delivery reports for the previous month. And so, but the big one's going to be the quarterly sales and delivery reports. But when Elon Musk typically releases this, I haven't really seen anything now, but I'll have to look into it a little bit more later. But or it could be revealed, sometime tomorrow morning or throughout the middle of the day. Who knows? Elon Musk could reveal this, or Tesla can reveal this information at any time. But the sales and delivery reports just gives us an idea of how many vehicles went out, or how many were ordered, how many were delivered to the owner, the buyer, and it gives us an idea of the production level. And so that all kind of calculates numbers and revenue and so on. And so, but it starts up with those sales and delivery reports. And so, but he's been hitting records, and so he keeps the momentum going. That just shows that it's a very profitable company. Even they're selling in volume, even though they've lowered their costs down, the price to the customer, but most likely their costs have come down too. So they're making a lot of money. And so people are betting that Tesla's going to go up. And so, and with this $260 call strike price, only had 14,000 in open interest. Now it's got 79,000 in fresh volume, which is showing pure buying activity because it exceeds the open interest. And so, but the other thing that's important to know again is the quarterly, uh, the quarterly the sales and delivery reports, which will happen sometime either during the weekend at the end of September of this month, or it'll come out probably in the Monday, which would probably be the second. But there's some other events that's going on there. So again, we have to make sure we have all the pieces of the puzzle together, so that way we know what's going to happen before it happens. And Tesla, Elon Musk has their own event coming up. Again, Apple has theirs September 12th. So again, make sure this is on your calendar. We'll try to continue doing these meetings. I'll continue to remind you, but this is extremely important because it's going to create a lot of volatility, and volatility makes great opportunities that we need to take advantage of. And so, the Tesla event, which is the AI day, the artificial intelligence day, which is going to be on right here. It shows September 30th. So let's look back at the calendar. Let's see right here. So the 30th, which is on a Saturday. So Saturday is basically the last day of this month. And then so we'll have that day, and so he could do anything that he wants. I mean, we're definitely going to see this robot again. What if he reveals another EV? I mean, he wants to build a $25,000 electric vehicle. There's going to be a time where he's going to reveal it, and he's going to take reservations on the website, and that is huge every time that is done. Plus, he's building a gigafactory in Mexico, and we see what happens when that gets built. Is he just continues to hit records and mass produce things, whatnot. But if it gets built in Mexico, it's going to be a lot more cost effective, and so that would be a great place to manufacture this starting out at $25,000 EV. I think Chevy already has one, and I think the Nissan Leaf has one, but the Chevy Bolt or whatever it is, I think that one has a much longer range than the Leaf. And so, but that's just kind of it introduces itself to a new type of customer that's like right out of high school, maybe going into college, Uber driver, whatever. And so, but it's more revenue, it's more sales, more deliveries for that different type of customer. And so that's going to be huge. So if he does, who knows? But again, this is more or less about the artificial intelligence and then the robot. If you guys not have seen this robot, which I think they call it the Optimus, and so this is a very interesting piece of technology that he wants to mass produce, and I'm talking about millions of these robots here. And so the Tesla bot, which is world built by humans for humans, it's designed to be friendly, eliminates the dangerous and repetitive and boring tasks. The height was anticipated to be about 5'8" and be able to carry 45 pounds. Its total weight's about 125 pounds. Deadlift is about 150. Speed of walking is about 5 miles an hour, and arm extend lift is about 10 pounds. And so, but over time, it has changed from this kind of concept to something a little bit more realistic. But now we're starting to see a blend of the two kind of form. And at last meeting during last year, they presented untethered, and now we're starting to see more clues where it's untethered and walking around by itself. And eventually, this is going to help build their Tesla vehicles as well as other technology. And the other key thing is that, again, Elon Musk wants to mass produce these. He eventually he's going to take reservations online, and when he does, he's going to say at the end of the presentation and reveal, now you guys can go to Tesla.com and reserve this for however much you want. So it could be $100, $500, $1,000. And it's just more. Nobody else has done this, and so this is getting Tesla to the next level basically. And so and it's going to add more revenue, more sales, more manufacturing, and all kinds of stuff. And so this is going to be great for not only residential, but also commercials for many different industries. And so, versus other robots and stuff, they're not really designed to be mass produced like the Boston Robotics or whatever, Boston Robotics. And so, but this is the goal. This is the plan. This is in the pipeline. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. And so, but it's just a matter of when he's going to start taking reservations online. It's not a matter of if. Taking a look at the U.S. futures right now as we speak, they're kind of hovering right around 0%. We have one U.S. Tech 100, which is down about 0.15, and then the U.S. 500 is down about 0.01, and then the U.S. 30 is at 0%. So still hovering right around zero. Most likely, a lot of this is being affected by other countries, and so. But we'll take a look at some other things here in just a little bit here. Let's continue down our most active individual calls and puts list. And so we talked about Tesla right there, and now we have Pfizer. Pfizer's number 2 right now going into this week, the most active individual call and put. We have a $37.50 call strike price from now, which is again at $35.78 a share. This call strike price expires this December 15th, or approximately 104 days from now. Its volume is 77,000. Open interest was just under 10,000. So, but because the volume exceeds the open interest, it is showing pure buying activity that people are betting that Tesla is going to go up another 8% or so. And so, but there could be more activity, more new strike prices later on here shortly if Pfizer does really jump up here soon. So I don't believe that there's going to be another lockdown, but if there is, most like my belief, I believe that the last one was most likely all because of a manipulation for financial gains. And they did it to a point where they continued the economy to going during the first quarter of 2020, and then they shut down the economy during the entire second quarter of 2020. And then they reopened it. We saw this V-shaped recovery. We watched all these stocks plunge. We even watched a barrel of oil go below $0. It was in the negative. I had no idea a barrel of oil could be in the negatives. And here the government was buying stocks in oil at nothing. And so this event was called quantitative easing. It's where they're buying stocks to try and whatnot, just to try to keep the stock market and the economy afloat while everything was shut down. Well, this year they've done what's called quantitative tightening, which is they're selling the stocks that they bought back then for financial gains. And so we all know where a majority of this money is going. And so, but they gave us stimulus money to, try to, give everyone a piece of the, a little, pie or, a little cut. But, it's, we just have to understand, how all this kind of works, and and manipulation, and following the numbers and kind of know what can happen, what's going to happen. And so, but let's say if there is another lockdown, again, this isn't something that the government's they're not going to want to do a long-term one, because it's not going to create financial gains. This is a financial gain type of, thing. So if there is another lockdown, let's say that, okay, so we're I mean, so it's got to be kind of gradually gone into. They're not just going to, do this, overnight. So I would say that we would need probably another quarter to kind of gradually, get into that. So I would say, if anything, they'd probably do a lockdown during the first quarter of next year. But I just don't see that happening. We've already know the politicians are saying it's not going to happen, but, we can't always believe what they say. But regardless, even if they did, it's going to be a short-term event. Just to try to, speed up the recession, or do a what you might call it, like a climax, or the grand finale type of thing, because the recession didn't really go as well as they were hoping that was going to go, increasing all these interest rates and whatnot. America is strong, and it's not doing as bad as they were hoping. And so, but that kind of leads into some of our economic reports that we'll talk about here shortly. Now, third place is Apple. We have a $190 call strike price for Apple, which is right around $189.46 a share. And so, but it also expires this Friday, so it's almost near the money. But the volume at 69,000 definitely exceeds the 40,000 open interest. So it's definitely doing pretty well. We do have a $250 call strike price for Tesla with the same expiration. We have a $255 call strike price for Tesla with the same expiration. We got a new one here. I don't know what this one is. HZNP. It looks like it is also active and expires here in a couple weeks. It's right at the money, $115. Horizon Therapeutics is the stock. Looks like it was up about 2.25% last Friday, and so but the volume exceeds the open interest, so that's good. If it was less than the open interest, that definitely shows some not as much interest that I would be looking for, because some of it could be selling activity. So it's always good to try to find volume that exceeds the open interest when looking for highly active calls or puts. We have another Apple call right there, and then we have the KView stock, KVUE, which is currently at just under $23 a share, but we have a $30 put strike price because of the very high value, the valuable contracts. We got a $240 put strike price for Tesla, so we do got a little something here to bet against Tesla, but that most likely is just part of a straddling technique as for insurance going into a 3-day weekend. So let's take a look at the most active individual calls and puts sorted out by open interest. And so there's just not a whole lot of interest in a lot of in the options system, but we do have a lot of interest now on a $22.50 put strike price for the KView stock. But we can see, look at this, you guys. Tesla again has dominated almost the top of this list with its $825 call strike price. Again, Tesla is at $245. We have an $825 call strike price. So I mean, this is just really, really unusual, and these contracts are dirt cheap. I mean, they're right at $16 a contract right now. And so it just all depends. It's just a waiting game now to see what's going to happen. What are they going to do with this artificial intelligence day, or is there something else that's going to happen? Between now and January 19th, that's the expiration date for this contract, and so which is approximately 139 days from now. It's got a lot of open interest. We're almost at 112,000 in open interest. And if you don't know what open interest is, it is the total number of open contracts for the previous day that have been traded but not yet liquidated via offsetting trades. That means people bought this and they're holding on to it. They have not sold it yet. And so definitely just this is something we talk about in our previous meetings. Just don't want to make sure that it flies underneath the radar. Bank of America, which has a $30 put strike price, it's right under $29 a share. Eventually, these financial stocks, they're going to bounce back up. They've been kind of bouncing around their bottom. These may be a good one to maybe get into before the winter season, just like energy stocks. There's more and more people using credit, especially going into the holiday season. The banks are going to provide a lot of revenue. I'm thinking. Neo, we do see a couple of Neos on the list. We see a $10 call strike price. It's already in the money now. It's at $11. But we do have a $15 call strike price for Neo that expires this January 19th, which is approximately 139 days from now. The open interest is going up. It was in our stock market meeting before. I think it was kind of more in the middle or the bottom of the list, but it's trickling up there, you guys. We need to make sure this is on our list because eventually Neo is worth so much more than where it's at now, and it has proven that it's almost doubled its monthly production. And it's hitting records now, and so it has earned getting back up there in the next level. And so, but people are betting that Neo's going to get to $15 right after the year's over. And so, but if also too, I want to make sure that if we get a different president during next year, after the election, that could change. Well, that could always change a lot of different stocks. But I know that Neo does not like our current president and our administration because of their policies with the semiconductors, basically cutting China off, where Neo needed quite a bit of American semiconductors, and so left them scrambling for themselves to figure it out. And so, but they have, and we're they, like I said, they've earned to go to the next level, and people are now betting on it, and so. A lot of interest on that one, but not a lot of love on American Airlines, AAL, which is currently just under $15 a share. We have a $5 put strike price. Something's going on with the airlines, and it's probably going to be another strike or something, another pilot strike or something. Just that stuff can be definitely a big mess. And so because that's something that we can see a lot of, and there's a lot of rumors that the automotive industry is going to go on a strike. I think the railroad just went through a strike earlier this year, and so I think a lot of shipping companies, more the ocean shipping companies, marine shipping companies, have been going through a lot of drama as well. And so, but if there's a lot of complications, because a lot of times what we're seeing is that these people that are going on strike are seeing that these companies are making a lot of money, and so and their wages aren't going up, and so that's what it always seems to be. Is kind of they need to try to level things out, and but then you have to go through that, and it just hurts business and their stock. And so, but this is a huge difference. This is like a 66% a decrease for American Airlines. Definitely not good. Definitely see some more Apple, even a $200 call strike price for Apple, which is not far from anyways, but once it gets to that point, we could easily see higher ones like this one, $215 call strike price for Apple. And so EOS, I'm not sure what that one is. It's currently at $3.85. We have a $5 call strike price. So this can also be a very good area to look for. Even if you're not into options, you can still look for stocks. Even penny stocks like this. If this is a penny stock, $3.85, it gets to $5. You just gain like what 22% or something just from holding it for a couple months. And so this is a really nice, valuable scanner, but it's also our radar. We never want to let something kind of fly underneath the radar. We need to make sure we're aware of it. And that's why we need to make sure that we're looking at it regularly on a daily basis. That way we know what's normally on there, what's not normally on there, and what's unusual. And so here is the Intel strike price that we're kind of looking for. We have a $40 call strike price for Apple, that also, not Apple, Intel, that expires in January 19th, or approximately 139 days from now. It now has 62,000 in open interest, right around 2,000 last Friday. So once it gets to that point, we'll definitely see probably a new one that'll be a little higher than that. But this could just be the momentum that we're seeing coming from Intel, where it's trying to be where it needs to be. And so, but just know that Intel could be the next semiconductor that's about to get pumped. And so going down the list some more, let's take a look, see if there's anything unusual or any significant differences. There's a Bank of America call, $30. Was there any? There was a put, so it looks like a little bit of straddling, but it looks like it's more on the people are holding more on the put side. So it's just a matter of finding where the bottom is going to be on the financial stocks, which is basically kind of bouncing around there now. And so, but as we go into the holidays, more and more people are going to use credit, and people are going to buy probably more SUVs and vehicles, all-wheel drive, and that way of stability and traction going into the winter season. So I think the financials may have a good season going into the fourth quarter. And so a lot more Apple activity there. So this is kind of a lot of the activity that we're seeing going into the week. But let's take a closer look at what this week is going to look like, starting with the economic reports. And the reason why we look at the economic reports is because economic reports always have the biggest impact on the entire stock market system. So they have the biggest impact, so that's always the best place to look. And so, but as I mentioned before last week, this week is not scheduled for a lot of activity because it's a holiday week. So we're going to see a low amount of volatility and a low amount of volume activity, and a low amount of probably open interest in the options world. So we see that Monday Monday is a holiday. So Tuesday, there's nothing scheduled. There's no economic report scheduled. Basically, it's just a kind of recuperation day for from the weekend. And so Wednesday, it looks like it's probably going to be the most serious time for Wednesday, because we have the monthly reports for Wednesday. Versus Thursday, these are weekly reports. These are our initial jobless claims, which is the unemployment report, and then we have the crude oil inventory reports, which is the oil levels, our inventory levels. And so these are weekly, so these usually provide a mild impact on the stock market, versus a monthly provides more of an impact on the stock market, as well as a quarterly or a yearly report will provide usually a lot more or the most volatility. And so Wednesday, okay, so now we know Wednesday is scheduled to be the most volatile day of this week, which also is a great opportunity for straddling. So Wednesday is the best day to straddle into if it's going to have the most volatility. And trying to figure out, it's always good to know when it's going to be released, because that way we know when to expect the volatility. And so when we're looking at it on the website, usually defaults to the Eastern time where if you look at your mobile device or your phone, depending on where your time zone is, it will automatically figure it out for your time. So again, it's always important to know if it's going to be released before the stock market opens or after the stock market opens. So in this case, going to Wednesday, it looks like that these reports are going to be released after the stock market opens. And this one's a very unusual one where it's scheduled to be released 15 minutes after the stock market opens. And this is the S&P Global Services, the PMI for the month of August. If you don't know what these are, feel free to click on it, and because it will provide a new tab and let you know what it is, with the first paragraph and how it will affect the stock market on the bottom paragraph. So, and for example, the service PMI release is published monthly by the market economics. The data are based on surveys of over 400 executives in private sector service companies. The surveys cover transport and communication, financial intermediaries, business and personal services, computing and IT, hotels and restaurants. Now, an index level of 500 denotes no change since the previous month, while a level above the 50 signals an improvement, and below 50 indicates a deterioration. A reading that is stronger than a forecast is generally supportive bullish for the US dollar, while a weaker than forecast reading is generally negative or bearish for the US dollar. Now, so basically, most of these numbers, the numbers need to be higher than the forecast, or maybe even higher than the previous, because that would show, good for the economy and whatnot. Where the unemployment report or the oil inventory levels need to be down. If people have jobs, then they're paying taxes and they're spending money on stuff and paying sales tax. That helps the economy, so that's good. If crude oil inventory levels, if they're down like they were last week, that helps the economy. People are driving, they're spending money, they're shopping, and so. But these numbers need to be down. All the other numbers need to be up, unless, what we saw last week and the entire week of last week, which is another thing that we have been talking about in our stock market meetings, is that sometimes bad news can be good news, or good news can be bad news. And so it was pretty much like that all week last week. And so usually when it does that, we want to continue that kind of prediction until further notice, until it kind of breaks that streak. And so, so if we continue that, looking at the S&P Global Services PMI for the month of August, it's saying that the forecast is 51.0 compared to the previous of 52.3. Because the forecast is less than, this is usually bad news because it's less than. So, but it'll show the opposite effects. So the bad news will be good news. So we should, and the same thing with the ISM non-manufacturing PMI report for the month of August. We also see a number that's less than the previous. Not much, but it's still a little bit. And it's still telling us of what it's going to do before it does it. And so, but if we're, the Wall Street and all these other guys are going to, they know about this too, but the majority of out there, the people, they don't know to kind of, put these pieces of the puzzle together. And so, but we are still missing one piece. We do have a one right here, the ISM non-manufacturing prices for the month of August is blank. But when we go into more of the pre-market, hopefully it'll be populated and that'll kind of continue. Hopefully it'll still be less than the previous, and that'll just continue that momentum. So Tuesday is just going to be a kind of recovery day of weekend news. And that's kind of what the schedule is kind of designed. Otherwise, they'd split it up. But again, Tuesday, they didn't put a schedule in here so that way it can kind of absorb anything from the weekend. And so that way they can focus on the volatility going into the rest of the week. And again, it looks Wednesday looks bullish to me. And so I don't know about you guys, but that's my take on it based on my experience. And so Thursday, September 7th, we have the unemployment report, which is scheduled to be released 1 hour before the stock market opens, where the crude oil inventory levels is scheduled to be released 1.5 hours after the stock market opens. So we got a nice little momentum going on there between before open, right at open, and then right after opening, because usually the first hour and the last hour of the days are the most volatile times of the days. So you see where a lot of time, most of the time, these are scheduled right around there to kind of keep the momentum and the volatility going. And so that's why we see volatility right after the first hour, whether it be a bullish activity or bearish activity. It's because of something was just released. And if we can know what that schedule is going to be like, it just gives us a huge advantage. And so, but the next following week, it could be light too. But I think that they're going to schedule more events. It's just a little too early, so definitely need to focus on this week. And so, but now with our time of everything, the president and the White House now has populated their schedule, and the schedule usually will affect the during the middle of the day or right before close, like during power hour. So let's take a look at what is scheduled for Tuesday for them, and it looks like at right around 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the president awards the Medal of Honor to Captain Larry Taylor, United States Army. And so nothing that's going to affect the stock market, really. I mean, even though the stock market don't really like the president, but it doesn't look like he's really going to say anything that's really going to affect the stock market in a bullish way or a bearish way. So, and there's no White House that's scheduled for events. So also there's nothing to... There's no events where a journalist could ask questions and receive an answer that they may not want to hear, or maybe get an answer they do want to hear. And so it doesn't look like there's going to be any major volatility later on in the during the day, unless there's like I said some. But if there was any big weekend news, the U.S. futures would be. We'd be like 0.25%, 0.5%, 1%, something significant. But we're just hovering right around 0%. So this just indicates that there's no weekend news that's affecting the stock market. It's just waiting for the U.S. stock market now to open up, so that way it just depends now on the investors and traders on whether they want to continue buying or selling. However, with the stock options, again, a lot of people were buying Tesla, and they're probably going to want to start pumping up Tesla soon and quick, right before the Tesla event. However, also know after the event, if Elon Musk does not reveal another car or take any reservations of any kind, the stock is going to plunge for a bit. It could be a day, it could be a couple days, but at least it's something that we can that we can use. But it's going to create a lot of volatility. A lot of people are going to straddle both calls and puts, because that volatility will always give us something to work with. But there's also going to be a lot of financial earnings coming up this week as well. And so I have our top 10 ready for us right here. So we have basically, Tuesday after close, Zscaler is a big company, and I believe we're going to be expecting some volatility with that one, as well as GitLab and Asana. I believe that's how you pronounce that. These three are big ones for this week. So Tuesday after close, we'll take a look at their analysis. But also Wednesday after close, we have this C3 AI company, which is a very big AI, artificial intelligence company. We'll take a look at the analysis on that one, as well as the UiPath. GameStop, which is a very loved stock, very manipulated stock, and but it's managed to definitely stay afloat. And we have a movie on it coming out called, what I think it's called, like Dumb Money. That's going to be a phenomenal movie. Definitely, it's probably going to create more investors of GameStop. ChargePoint, another one, another big one there, especially as our country is growing a bigger infrastructure for EV charging. ChargePoint is definitely a big participant in that. Dave and Buster's will also be really doing their reveal. And then we have on Thursday after close, DocuSign. DocuSign has been a pretty volatile stock. They were huge during the pandemic. They were a huge essential for signing digital contracts. And so, but let's take a look at the financial earnings. And so AI, which again is going to be releasing their earnings on Wednesday after the stock market closes. It's expected that they're going to beat their estimates, but investors are bearish going into the company's earnings release with a 61.1% expecting an earnings beat. And that's right around normal. I mean, 65% I would say is right around normal, so it's just a little bit below that. But option traders are pricing in right around a 14.7% price movement in either direction. Where normally it's moved right around 13%, but it's building up more and more volatility every time. And so, but investors are anticipating more volatility with this one than before. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, but it's just gonna. It's most likely it's also going to create volatility with other competitor stocks, or other AI stocks. So a lot of people are going to say, well, what are the other AI stocks? And so there's a lot of ways we can look into that. I like using bar chart, and but if we go to the investing part here, we can go to, there's an AI section right here, AI stocks. So bam, right here gives us all the AI stocks. So that basically means it's going to affect, it could potentially affect NVIDIA, this BBAI, Big Bear, whatever. And Upstart could affect Facebook, Palantir Technologies, Tesla, Sprinkler, AMD, Adobe, Amazon. It could affect them. Google, Apple, so on. But we could also maybe just focus on maybe the higher volume guys. And so, but it just depends on your preference. But here is the list for all the artificial intelligence stocks. So let's go back here. So definitely putting this one on our watch list. Then we have the Zscaler, just like what we're talking about, is going to be reported Tuesday after close. So that's later today after the stock market closes. Investors are expecting it to beat its estimates. And option traders are pricing in right around almost a 10% price movement in either direction, which looks like it's scaled down a little bit compared to its average, right around 12.9%. So, but UiPath, which you can see is more or less for like businesses and developers, but they are reporting their earnings Wednesday after the stock market closes. But investors are also expecting it to beat its estimates. Investors are, though, bearish going into the company's earning release with a 74% expecting an earnings beat, which is always interesting. Sometimes we can see that. Sometimes, why is it expected them to beat their estimates, but investors are also bearish going into the earnings? But also, let's take a look at this really quick. Option traders are pricing right around 12.9% price movement with this one, where in the past it's moved right around 16%. So, but when we see kind of like this weird conflict between expecting a beat, but investors are bearish, it's like, let's take a look why. And usually what we find looking at the charts, we'll pull up the ticker, is that a lot of times it may be already priced in or something. Let's take a look here. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's been around very long. So it's a fairly new IPO of 2021. It looks like it came out online around April 23rd, 2021. And it's bouncing. It landed on the bottom, and it's just kind of bouncing on the bottom right here. But but yeah, so it just, it looks like investors are just torn. I would say, it's not like priced really high or they knew it was going to beat it anyways, but they just don't know. And so we have investors that are bullish, we have some that are bearish, and so that's what it looks like to me, looking at the chart and its price and where it's been and where it may be heading. And so but GameStop, which again is expected to release their earnings Wednesday after the stock market closes, they're expected to miss their estimates. Investors are also bullish going into the company's earnings release, but with a 45.1% expecting an earnings beat. That's very, very low, and they're still very bullish because they're hopeful. And one thing as a trader or investor, you never want to use hope as for trading and investing, because it affects your emotions. Your emotions is what messes you up. It makes you make decisions that that you shouldn't be making. And so option traders are pricing in a lot of volatility with this one at 15.1% price movement in either direction. Where in the previous past it's moved right around 14%. So we're expecting a little bit more volatility with this one than recently. And so GitLab is confirmed to release their earnings Tuesday after the stock market closes, so later today, which investors are expected to beat their estimates. Investors are, though, bearish going into the company's earnings release with a 60% expecting an earnings beat. So just slightly below average, but not by much. But option traders are pricing in a lot of volatility with this one, almost 18%. Price movement in either direction. And so, but again, why are some expecting a beat but also are bearish? Let's take a look at the GitLab. So that's GTLB. Oops, GTLB. Let's see, where are they? They haven't been around very long either. Looks like they're a fairly new IPO as of October 15th, 2021. And they're also bouncing around on the bottom. So again, they just don't know. They're bearish, they're bullish. It's kind of a nice even blend because it's been bouncing on the bottom since March of 2022. And so it's really done nothing. And so, but the only thing that it has done is provided a lot of volatility. We have the bottom's been right around that $28, and it's been going up to that $50. I mean, that's huge, you guys. $27 or $28 to $50. That's big swings. And so if we see where it's at now, let's go. It's at where, it's up kind of on the top area there, but the highest area here, which is right around $68, because right now it looks like it's right at $49 now. But if it does go up, and if it does go up, almost 20%, that's that's going to be huge. That's $10. It's going to go from $50 to $60. So that's pretty big, and so big. But definitely we need to put this on our watch list if we want to straddle it. Just make sure that it's considered a lottery play. If we buy calls or puts, whatever, it's a lottery play just in case if it doesn't move or if there's some kind of manipulation, they intercept it or something by maybe accidentally releasing the financial earnings while the market's open. I've seen that before, and it just messes things up, and then you have what's called IV crush or implied volatility crush that will automatically devalue both your calls and puts. And so we're just going to make sure we're watching what's going on very, very closely. ChargePoint, which is also scheduled to release their earnings Wednesday after the stock market closes. We are expected that they're going to miss their estimates But also investors are bearish going into the company's earning release with a 67% expecting an earnings beat, which is very interesting. They're bearish, but the percentage is very, very high. Let's take a look at ChargePoint, their graph. It's CHPT. So it's CHPT. Take a look at ChargePoint, see if they're one of the things. Yeah, they're on the bottom, just kind of bouncing on the bottom and just kind of. But there's some volatility though with this. But they're currently at $7.44 a share, but they are just way down there, and so. Yeah, you continue that cycle, but maybe they just don't know that they have a 67% expecting an earnings beat. Maybe they just don't, and they're just bearish because maybe it's just been a bearish stock. But option traders are pricing in. You have almost 15% price movement with this, where normally it's moved right around 5-6%. So we're definitely expecting 3 times the amount of volatility with this one. DocuSign, which is also another volatile stock, they are expected to release their earnings Thursday after the stock market closes, and are expected to beat their estimates. Investors are bearish going in the company's earnings, but with a 61.4% expecting an earnings beat. Option traders are pricing in just under 11% price movement, but in either direction. In the past, it's moved, like I said, significantly because it was one of those little COVID stocks, but now we're at 15.5%. Well, with the recently previous volatility was right around 15.5%. But if there was ever another lockdown that ever kind of brews, in the works, this stock is going to fly through the roof again because it's one of those that are essential companies that are needed while people are no longer trying to do social distancing, I guess we can say. Trip.com is also expected to release their earnings, but on Monday. So that already happened, and so but I they were expected to beat their estimates. I don't know if they did. Investors are bullish. 64% expecting earnings beats. Option traders are pricing in right around a 5.8%. So we'll see what their stock does later when pre-market opens. And so then we have Dave & Buster's. Dave & Buster's is confirmed to release their earnings on Wednesday after the stock market closes. They're also expected to beat their estimates. Investors are bullish going into the company's earnings release with almost an 82% expecting an earnings beat. That is the highest percentage out of any of the top 10 financial earnings this week. And so option traders are pricing in some extra volatility with this one, almost at 15% price movement in either direction, where in the recent past it's moved right around 10%. So we're expecting a little bit more with this one. And so they must be doing very, very well, as a lot of investors are very bullish with Dave & Buster's. And so Asana Project, which is also confirmed to release their earnings on Tuesday after the stock market closes, they're expected to beat their estimates. Investors are bearish going into the company's earnings release with a 60% expecting an earnings beat. Option traders are pricing in almost a 14% price movement in either direction. It just depends, but again, it's always interesting where you see we're expected to beat, but also investors are bearish. Let's take a look at Asana really quick and check out their graph and see if they're bouncing on the bottom or if they're priced pretty high. And it looks like another one that's kind of bouncing on the bottom, where investors and traders just don't know really which way it's going to go. Really, it's got a 50-50, can go either way, but we do know that it's anticipated to provide a lot of volatility. So also as a reminder that as we get closer into the month, that next week on Friday the 15th is Triple Witching Day. And so Triple Witching Day is a day where we got a lot of of things that expire, and it shows right down here in the options world, expiration of equity trades, index options, and index futures. It just causes people it kind of forces some of these traders to sell, and when there's selling activity, it just creates bearish activity, especially on a Friday before a weekend. It's something that we can see, just kind of a trifecta effect happening right there. So, but it just gives us a better idea of what's going to happen before it happens. And so, and especially with the Apple event going on Tuesday the 12th, and if they don't reveal, or if they don't surprise us with anything, if Apple goes down, a lot of the market's going to go down too, after that. And so we just need to make sure that we are completely aware of what's going to happen. And so, other than that, take another look at the U.S. futures. And so it looks like they're still kind of hovering right around 0% because it's really just waiting for the pre-market to open here in several hours. But other than that, I don't think I really have anything else to go over. I don't know if you guys have anything, have any questions. You feel free to unmute your mic and you can talk. If you want to screen share, that's fine too. If you have anything, want to learn anything, or have any questions. But everything that I post, I have saved in our featured announcements area. So if you ever have any questions, you can also send me a message through Messenger. Anyways, thank you guys very much for showing up. We'll do this again next time.